Good morning to all. Today we are going to discuss three concepts. Those are first one validation testing, second one system testing, third one art of debugging. In these three concepts, the first one is validation testing. Validation testing means whether we are developed the right product or not. To checking this one is nothing but validation testing. According to our concept, validation testing begins at the culmination of integration testing. So always validation testing starts at the culmination of integration testing. We already know what is meant by integration testing. Integration testing means whenever the unit testing is completed, different units of software is developed. After completed the unit testing, then all these individual units are combined to make a package of software. Then each package is created and integration testing is performed. Whether this integration is completed, then validation testing begins at that place. So this is called validation testing. So validation defines as that validation succeeds when software functions in a manner that can be reasonably expected by the customer. So this is nothing but the definition of validation. It means whenever the validation is succeeding means whether all the functions mentioned by the customer is reasonably successfully completed or existed in our project, then the validation is succeed. So this is the definition of validation. So this validation testing concept may contain three different concepts. In that, first one is validation test criteria, second one configuration review, third one alpha and beta testing. So these are the three important concepts are in validation testing. In that first one, validation test criteria. Validation test criteria explains after each validation test case has been conducted, one of two possible conditions exist. That means whenever a validation test case is conducted on any project or software or program, one of the two possible conditions is exist. Either in these two conditions, any one condition may be exist. So now, what is these two conditions? In that first one is the function or performance characteristic conforms to specifications and is accepted. So the first concept is whether what are the functions are mentioned in the program or software or the performance characteristics are conformed to the specification, then it is accepted. That means the validation is success, then the software is accepted. When you conducted the validation testing, whether the functions or performance everything is okay, then we are accepting. This is one of the condition. If the validation test is conducted, whether this may be happen or the another point, the second point may be happen. The second point is a deviation from specification is uncovered and a deficiency list is created. That means if it is not succeeded, so it is deviated from the specification what the customer is provided for us. That means to develop a project or a software, customer provides some specifications. When we are validating that software, it is deviated from the specification provided by the customer. Due to that deviation, some deficiency list is created. That means errors list is created. Whenever you are validated a software, either the first point may be happened or second point may be happened. So this is the concept, nothing but validation test criteria. Then the Second concept in validation testing is configuration review. So we know already what is meant by review. Review means nothing but checking for any errors is there or not. So in that manner, configuration review means it is an important element of the verification validation process. So the main intent of the review is to ensure that all elements of the software configuration have been properly developed or not. So the main concept of configuration review in validation testing is whether all the elements of the software configuration have been properly developed or not. To check that one, the configuration review plays the most important role in validation process. Then this configuration review sometimes also called as audit. So we know what is meant by auditing. So for example, auditing means finding some errors or checking the accounts whether they are perfect or not. So this configuration review sometimes also called as audit. So this is the concept of configuration review in validation testing. Then the third point in the validation testing is alpha and beta testing. So alpha and beta testing means in that alpha testing means this alpha testing is conducted at the developer site by a representative group of end users. That means it is one of the testing in validation testing. That means alpha testing. So this alpha testing is conducted at the developer site. So developer site means where the software is developed. For example, maybe software engineering company, software development company. So that one we may assume as developer site. So alpha testing is conducted at the developer site by few representative group of end users or also existed in before of the end users, and in the presence of developers the alpha testing is conducted. Then the second one in the testing is beta testing. The beta testing is conducted at one or more end users site. That means end users site means it is not conducted in the developer environment or developed company. It is tested in the users environment. That means not only in one place, one or more users environment. That one we are calling here as end user sites. Testing in users environment. So beta testing is conducted at one or more end users sites. Unlike alpha testing, developers generally is not present in the beta testing. Only end users are involved in the beta testing. So this is the concept of alpha testing and beta testing. A variation on beta testing called as customer acceptance testing. So a variation existed in the beta testing. It is called as customer acceptance testing. So these are the concepts of validation testing. So validation testing may contain three concepts. One is validation test criteria, second one configuration review, and third one alpha and beta testing. So these are the concepts of validation testing. Then the second concept is system testing. System testing means it's actually a series of different tests whose primary purpose is to fully exercise the computer based system. That means system testing means a complete computer based system is fully tested by using different test cases to find out any errors in that system. It is called as system testing. That means a complete system, after developing the complete system is tested for errors. So that testing is called as system testing. This system testing concept may contain 5 different concepts. Those are: first one recovery testing, second one security testing, third one stress testing, fourth one performance testing, and fifth one deployment testing. So among these 5 concepts, the first one is recovery testing. Recovery testing means is a system testing that focuses the software to fail in a variety of ways and rectify and verify that recovery is properly performed. That means recovery testing means whenever it is also a system testing, it focuses the software to fail in variety of ways. The software, whatever the software we developing, it may be failed in some situation. If such situation is happened, the recovery is getting back the software in proper manner or not. To test that one is called recovery testing. Whenever failures are happen, the recovery is possible or not by the software is called as recovery testing. Then the second testing is called security testing. Security testing attempts to verify that protection mechanisms built in a system will in fact protect it from improper penetrations. That means system security testing means security mechanisms are built in the system or not. If any improper penetrations, that means illegal entering of others or any data wants to stolen, to avoid all those things, the security is provided in the system or not. To testing that security is nothing but security testing. Then third testing is called stress testing. Stress testing executes the system in a manner that demands resources in abnormal quantity, frequency or volume. That means stress testing means execute the system in abnormal situations. That means providing or asking abnormal quantity of data frequently or volume, etc. etc. That means abnormal situation, how the system is executing. To test that one, it comes under stress testing. A variation of stress testing is a technique called sensitivity testing. So the variation in stress testing technique is called sensitivity testing. The fourth system testing is called performance testing. Performance testing is designed to test the runtime performance of the software within the context of an integrated testing. So at the runtime, how the system is performing, whether it is performing well or not. To test that performance is called performance testing. Then the last testing is nothing but deployment testing in system testing. So deployment testing is also sometimes called as configuration testing. So the deployment testing means, so whenever the software is going to deliver in that situation, what is the testing is performing on our software is called deployment testing. Why we are calling it also called configuration testing means in the delivery, giving delivery time, we are testing that one, the software in different configurations, whether it is suitable for all the operating systems, to testing that one, and whether it is an application or web application softwares, whether all the browsers are suitable for these web applications, to testing all these types of configurations also. Then this deployment testing, sometimes also called configuration testing. So this is called deployment testing. So these are the concepts of system testing. Then the third concept is the art of debugging. So what is meant by debugging? Debugging means removing the errors. That means after finding out the errors, rectify them, correct them, is nothing but debugging. So debugging occurs as a sequence of successful testing. It means whenever we tested the software, we are finding out the errors. So in that situation, if a successful testing is happened, means errors are finding out, then debugging is occurred. Why? Because means we want to rectify that errors, we want to remove that errors from the software. To do that one, we require debugging. So debugging contain some four important concepts are there in that. First one is debugging process, second one psychological considerations, third one debugging strategies, and fourth one correcting the errors. So among these four concepts, the first one is debugging process. So debugging process will usually have one of two outcomes. when you implement the debugging process, you may get any one outcome from these two. It may be called the first one, the cause will be found and correct. So when you implement the debugging in the software, you may find out the cause and you may correct that one. This is the first one, first outcome. Then the second may be the cause will not be found. That means in the software there is no any errors. When you execute the debugging process, any one of these two outcomes may be exist, and some few characteristics of bugs provide some clues. That means few characteristics of bugs are there. So what are those? The first characteristic is the symptom and the cause may be geographically remote. That means the errors may be hide in somewhere geographically remote. They may be hiding somewhere. It may not be directly viewed by the users. That is the first one. The second one, the symptoms may disappear when another error is corrected. That means in our program, if we corrected one error, then another error may be disappeared. That is the second point. The third point is the symptoms may actually be caused by non-errors. So some of the symptom errors may be actually caused, occurred by some non-errors. Due to some non-errors, some symptoms of errors may be occurred. That is the third characteristic. Then fourth one is symptoms may be caused by human errors, that is not easily tracked. That means some errors or some symptoms of the errors may be caused by human beings. These types of errors may not be easily traced. Then fifth one is symptoms may be a result of timing problems rather than processing problems. So some of the errors may be exist due to some time problems. Those are not due to some processing problem. Rather than processing problem, some time problem errors may also occur. So these are few characteristics of bugs. Then this is nothing but the pictorial representation of debugging process. So in this picture, the debugging process starts from test case environment. For any software, if you develop the test cases, send them to the system to execute the test cases to find out any errors or not. If the errors are not there, then no problem. If the errors are there, that result will be sent to debugging. So in the debugging phase, we are rectifying that error. That means if we suspect some causes of errors, we send that data to additional testing. If you want to do additional testing, you want to develop some test cases again, and then again send the process to the system and find the results. Or otherwise, if you are not suspected, if you identified perfectly there is some errors, then make them into corrections and then do regression testing and then send to that concept to test cases, to develop test cases, and again send to that one for execution and finding out the results. So this is the overall process existing in debugging. So this is the concept of debugging. Then the second concept of debugging concept is psychological consideration. Psychological consideration refers, unfortunately, there appears to be some evidence that debugging prose is an innate human trait. Some people are good at it and some others are not. For example, corrections. Debugging means rectifying the answer. So that rectification is also done by human being. Human being is who developed the software. They want to do that rectifications because software is tested by individual test group, and if they find out the errors, they passed that error list to the developers. Developers is nothing but human beings. They also want to do, they want to do that rective debugging. So in that, some people are good in debugging and some are not. So this is nothing but the concept of psychological consideration. Then come to the third concept of debugging is debugging strategies. This is also called as debugging tactics also. So the debugging strategies are suggested by Bradley. So Bradley describes three debugging strategies. So those are nothing but the first one, brute force, second one, backtracking, and third one, cause elimination. So when you come to the first point of brute force, so brute force means nothing but we are forcing the software to find out the errors and rectify the errors by using some bulk information is posted on that. So we are forcing that one. So such type of forcing concept will becomes under brute force. Then second one, backtracking. So backtracking means in our software, if you find out errors in anywhere from there to starting place, we are tracking the total program for any errors are affected due to the problem. So this is the concept of backtracking. And third one is cause elimination. If you find out any errors in your software, eliminate that one. So that is comes under cause elimination. So these are the three different suggestions provided by Bradley to debugging. Then if you come to the fourth concept is correcting the errors. So correcting the errors means whenever by using testing, if we find out the errors, then the second point is we want to correct those errors. When you are correcting the errors, one Flick suggested three important questions. So what are those means? First one, is the cause of the bug reproduced in another part of the program? For example, if any place a bug is find out when you are rectifying that one, debugging that bug, due to that debugging procedure, the bug will reproduce in any other part of the program. That means it exists in any other part of the program, it affects any other part of the program. We want to answer for this question also. This is the first question, simple question I have suggested by Frank Brin for correcting the errors. Then second one is what next bug might be introduced by the fix one I am about to make. That means the second question is when you fixed any errors in one place, what is the next verb existed in any other places, what is the next verb may be introduced by this one. So we want to answer for this question also. Then the third one is what could we have done to prevent this bug in the first place. Is in the first place. That means whenever if you find out any bugs in the program at the first place itself, we want to prevent them or we want to rectify them. Otherwise, it may create lot of problem in the program. So when you want to correcting the errors, we want to answer for these questions suggested by Van Vliet. So these are the concepts of art of debugging. So today we discuss three concepts in this video, nothing but validation testing. It contains three important concepts called validation test criteria, configuration review, and alpha and beta testing. The second concept is system testing. It contains five components. First one is recovery testing, second one security testing, third one stress testing, fourth one performance testing, and fifth one deployment testing. And third concept is art of debugging. So it contains four concepts. First one debugging process, second one psychological consideration, third one debugging strategies, and fourth one correcting the errors. Based on all these three concepts, some assignment questions are given to you. These are those assignment questions.